This is going to be a video on my dreams that I've had with Kurt Cobain since around 2019 to 2025. And this one right here that I'm going to start out with, we were both in a basement, and this was around 2020 when I was going through my breakdown regarding a situation I was involved in with the Isaac Cappy case when I realized after an entire year that I had been listening to people that were just having me put out misinformation that were actually involved in what they did to Isaac. And so I was breaking down a lot and I was having out of body experiences and lucid dreams and very vivid dreams as well. Anyway, this we were in the basement, a basement, and it was dark, and this is before I heard uh anything about anything happening in a basement. So in hindsight, that's something. Anyway, we were in a basement. It was dark. Kurt was sitting in front of me on a chair or whatever, or a stool, I don't know. It was dark. And I was sitting directly across from him, and he handed me a piece of paper, and on it were music notes, like guitar music notes, but he was making his own notes. So, you know how you have A, B, and C. What he was doing was he created his own notes. He had the whole alphabet spelled out in notes, like all the way to W. And on the paper, there was guitar tablature lines that he had drawn and three dots. And above the dots were the words W, A, and R, which obviously spells out war. Sorry. Alright, so I'm looking at that, I see it, and then suddenly, and this is where it gets really crazy, and it's not going to make sense, but this is what actually happened. An old therapist of mine came out of the darkness of the basement and walked up the stairs and then turned back around to Kurt and I and said, "This is my last time ever working here." And I said, "Can I get a hug goodbye?" And she said, "Why don't you come outside and get hit by a car instead?" And I know that's really weird, but that's what happened. But she said it like this: "Why don't you come outside and get hit by a car instead?" Like it was something happy to be happy about. It was really, really weird. My insight on that is that people are so not conscious of what they are doing and accepting in their waking life and how they're behaving that when they're in the astral plane, they're literally behaving in really fucked up, weird ways like that. And they're not even conscious of themselves. Bear with me, please, as I speak about it. It's so true. We've been so misled and taken away from the truth about lucid dreaming that we're spirit beings, we are consciousness. We are not just this third dimension earthly body. And it could be so easy to understand. It was supposed to be. We were supposed to remain aware of it since we were babies all the way up to now. Not just the elite. Not just the elite A-lister celebrities and their little cults. We were all supposed to be aware of this. And I believe that Kurt would have shined a light on this stuff, not keep it hidden to himself like a selfish asshole like all the other A-lister celebrities. In either 2020 or 2021 or 2022, I think it was 2021 or 2022, I had another dream with Kurt and Isaac Cappy right beside me. I remember Kurt was to the right of me and Isaac was to the left of me, and we were standing on like what looked like a mountain, and there was like clouds all around us, kind of mist. And somebody said, "We don't have much time." And we were looking in front of us. It was either Isaac or Kurt that said it. I can't remember. I don't know if I knew then, but it was one of them. And we were looking ahead of us. What I get from that is, I don't know. We're looking at humanity, yeah. I do know. And this was at the same time of, COVID-19 and everything, the Great Reset, Build Back Better, technocratic agenda of the elites. Keep all of us stupid and relying on them and accepting their system. And yeah, I mean, humanity could have went a way better way. But selfish people like Courtney Love and other people associated with the Epstein list and the Mossad are just fucking it up for everybody. And they're enjoying it themselves, but not really, because they have like all of us complaining about them and exposing them. I bet that keeps them busy too. In this stream, in either 2020 or 2021 or 2022 again, I wrote it all down. I just don't have my old phone up. Actually, I saved all of my dreams because I wrote them all down for like 4 years. And it's all in a PDF actually on this phone too. So I'm going to look through them. But right now I'm going off of memory. There was one I was just going to speak about. Okay, I woke up somewhere else and I was in an apartment. I was in a apartment. I don't know whose it was. And I became lucid in the dream, but it was just like I woke up somewhere else. Instead of waking up here on Earth in the third dimension, I woke up somewhere else. And there was Kurt Cobain in front of me, and there was this girl with black hair to her chin area, like a gothic punk rock girl, but not too gothic. And she said, "He's aware." And then I can't remember, but she said to someone, "Quick, hand me that." And it was a can of orange peace tea, which has like the peace symbol on it with the two fingers and a peace symbol. And Kurt grabbed it from her and put it in front of my face and kept smiling. And put it in front of my face, sorry, and kept smiling, flashing the peace symbol at me. It was during a time when I was stressing out so much about the case, and I was just too deeply disturbed by everything that I was coming across online, and I got really angry, and I started freaking out over it a lot. During my waking life here in the third dimension, and then I would go to sleep and I would literally have these dreams. And they continue to this day once in a while. Also, in 2023, I had a dream with Kurt when Sarah Silverman, the comedian, literally had me charged through 12 Division here in Toronto and sent to jail. I was in there for 7 months. I was not able to speak about it because there was a fucking gag order and I was on probation until last week. And, fuck. Okay, I had a dream of Kurt when I was there at the Toronto South Detention Center, which is now where the Headley singer is. And, Kurt and I were on a couch, and it was in an MTV building, and it was literally on fire, and their windows were broken, and we were sitting on the couch, and it was sunny outside behind us, and we were just laughing and chilling on the couch. Kurt was on the far left side, I was on the far right side, and we were just like laughing and chilling. And there was another dream involving fire, and we were in what looked like to be a basement, like a downstairs area again. This time the lights were on, and the amp, it was a big amp coming down. It was on the floor, like it was a tall amp, and it was on fire. And Kurt was standing to the right of it and putting his arms up, like kind of like a prophet or something, like you know, waving his arms up, both of his arms up, and he had the guitar strapped around him and the guitar on him, and he was wearing something white, and he kept doing that. It was literally on fire though, the amp. It was crazy. I can remember the wall being on fire too. Like I'm gonna stop it right here and record again once I remember another one. And this one too. In about, I think it was 2022. I was messaging Courtney Love on Instagram, recorded voice messages telling her about my dreams with Kurt and all my lucid experiences at the time and vivid dream experiences. And then I went to sleep, and then in my dream, I was still on my bed, and Kurt came walking around in my apartment into my living room area where my desk was, and in the dream was a laptop. I didn't own a laptop at that point in my third dimension body life, aka the third dimension Earth. Anyway, he walked up to it, and Instagram was open, and there was a message from Courtney that said, "Hi, dot dot dot," and Kurt put his right hand on the desk and looked down at the computer screen, like he put his face close to it. And that's all I remember of that one. Another one came back. Kurt was downstairs in my apartment complex, opening the door and letting somebody's dog in, and my other friend that I met at a shelter when I was like 23 years old, that I don't hang out with anymore, was also there with Kurt while they were helping someone come in. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Yeah, there's this one I've spoken about before too in a post. I was in Kurt's house. I had the shotgun. I was literally walking through Kurt's body, but I was me because we look alike because we're both from the county fucking Tyrone area, and we have blue eyes and blonde hair. But I had the same shirt on that he had, the long sleeve shirt on that's in the crime scene photos. But I had cut in the sleeves off of the long sleeved shirt to make it a t-shirt. And I did that on both sides. I don't remember doing that. I just remember looking at my face in the mirror from a photo that I seen of the house. One of those real estate photos or whatever. Property photos, whatever. And that's all I remember of that. I had one of Mark Lanigan and Kurt, so this was last year now. And I was with Kurt upstairs. He was packing stuff into a backpack. And I looked at him. He looked at me in a worried, panicked kind of way. And then my consciousness literally floated out of that body down the stairs of the house. And I looked into the living room, and there was Mark Lanigan on the couch with his arms crossed. And he was sitting in the middle of the couch, all alone in the dark. And he looked dark too. Like his spirit was like bold and dark and strong, grounded in the darkness that he was absorbing and soaking in and relaxing in, I guess. I don't know. He was just on the couch all alone with his arms crossed. and his figure was dark, but I could still tell who it was. I also had a lucid dream. You can call it remote viewing, whatever. It's like the same thing. Literally is. Your consciousness and you're traveling around. I was in the greenhouse in this dream, and I was looking through Eric Erlinson's eyes. And I had a white towel with me, a kitchen towel, and so did Callie. And we were at the end of the greenhouse where where you walk upstairs and you can go into it. And I was looking at him. Just, it was weird. It was scary because I'm just gonna say it really fast though. I was looking at Callie through his eyes, and we weren't. This is the thing. We were focused on every sound that was coming from outside. Any car, anyone walking, any noise, and trying not to look behind us at where Kurt's body was. Like it was a haunting feeling. And that was scary because we weren't even focused on our attention really in the greenhouse while they were cleaning. They kind of were, but their attention was really focused on outside, even though they were inside of that building with the door closed. That was something. There's some I don't want to say. Might upset people, so I'll just say it really quick. I had a dream of Joe, and he had his both of his arms, and he was his older self where he is now, as he is now, and he was on the floor of the greenhouse, and he had both of his arms on the ground, and he put his forehead to the ground, and he was crying, and that was really sad, and that's all I remember from that. Uh, that's all I want to talk about right now. This one too. So this is when they really started again because I remember having dreams of Kurt when I was a baby, and then forgetting who he was and forgetting the '90s and forgetting half of the TV shows I even watched back then until they all came back on YouTube years and years later. Um, shit. So okay, in this dream, it was the '80s. It was from a photo that I had seen of Kurt walking on the street at night in a jacket, and Chris Novoselic was there, and Kurt was, and I was floating in the sky, and I floated above Kurt and Chris, and I said, "Hey, Kurt, come here, come with me. I know what happens to you. You gotta come with me." But I said it in a more like uh desperate way, and he looked up at me, and so did Chris. They could both see me, but they looked up at me and they started laughing. They thought I was literally a hallucination. That's what I could tell from how they were looking at me. Like they didn't believe in me, but they could both see me, but they couldn't believe they were both seeing this. And they followed me across the street, and that's all I remember of that. Also, I've got to include this one because it's very nuts, and it happened. When Sarah Silverman had me sent to jail, had me charged and arrested by 12 Division here in Toronto, and sent to jail, I had a dream of Chris Novoselic, and we were on the couch with my friends from my small town, Coburg, and Chris said to me, "Did they say anything yet about November 23rd?" That's all I remember from the dream. And I woke up, and then like 2 months passed by, maybe 3 months, and then I get a call from my lawyer in the morning, and he said, "We're going to court, we're going to plead to get you out, and it's going to be on November 23rd. And he also, in that same phone call, said, "You don't think you're still getting messages, divine messages in your dreams, do you?" And I had to say, "No, I don't." That was fucking amazing. That really happened. All of that really happened. Everything I spoke about in this entire video actually did fucking happen. So, I'm not making any of it up. These are my dream experiences. If they sound crazy, whatever, move on. But they're just continuing, and I will certainly do more videos about them. Thank you for whoever does listen and believes me. 'Cause that matters. I'm really going through this, and these are the experiences I've had, and I want to share them. I want people to know I'm telling the truth. And I'll keep talking about them until the day I die. Alright, I remembered some more, and so I just want to include them as well. There's this one time I went to Kurt's house, and I had two people with me who apparently were my friends in the dream. And I was in Kurt's house, and I walked around a wall, like to get around, like on the stairway. And then suddenly Kurt popped out with a shotgun, and he literally blasted out the brains of the two people beside me. He shot the person to the right of me and then to the left of me. And they fell over, and their brains literally slid out of their heads, and they were like purple and blue. And I'm not kidding. That happened as well. I'm it was disturbing. Like I woke up, I remember I was disturbed from that dream. Obviously, he didn't trust who I brought there, and I probably most likely never brought them back again, and I certainly won't in any future experiences. Whoever they were, I don't know who they were in the dream, those two people. There was also one where it was like Christmas time, and there was like a big gingerbread house and Christmas trees, and a lot of kids running around, even flying around. And Kurt was smiling and opening the door of this little like gingerbread thing house. I forget what I just said, but it was just like that. It was really something. But I've had a lot of dreams like that. I had a dream with this is unrelated. Well, not really. With me and Sarah Silverman and Jennifer Love Hewitt. We were all the age of 7 years old, and we were flying around somewhere downtown, someplace. And Jennifer did something to a statue, and as we were flying away from it in the air, she said, "This is divine work." And I woke up to that from that. My dreams also get really dark. I've had many of this reptilian being that literally would come in the form of Sarah Silverman, but look kind of freakier, like not exactly human, but mimicking her body form, and it was really disturbing. But those dreams have thankfully stopped. God bless them stopping. Anyway, but I still have dreams with like these beings that I've dreamt with since I was a baby, like the Pink Power Ranger and Catwoman and Poison Ivy, and those continue to this day. And I'll try to think of another one with Kurt right now. Just a sec, I have to pause this and think and then come back. I had one of Isaac Cappy in my kitchen. Sorry to go off topic. Uh, he was wearing the jacket that he was wearing in that last video where he was held hostage in his home, in his room, where he was renting a room. And he was in my kitchen, and he turned his head and he looked at me, and he like puffed out his jacket with both of his hands and smiled. And that's that. I had another dream where I woke up and it was Isaac reaching out to me. He literally walked through the wall and extended his right hand to me, and I grabbed it, and then he brought me through the walls to some other place. And honestly, that's been happening to me since I was a baby, and it's been happening with Jesus. And I know I'm not religious at all, but this has literally been happening to me since I was a baby. And I remember literally going through the wall with like my baby friends back then in the early 90s in my dream state, but it was just as vivid as right now because I was more aware in that state back then when I was that younger. Most of us were, but now we're not. I had another dream with Kurt. It wasn't a lucid one, it was a vivid. And it was like I was with a bunch of people and we were watching him on a webcam, but it wasn't like that, but it was like I was just watching from above him, kind of, but in front of him. And he said, I never wanted to be like this or end up something like that. Something to the effect of, I never wanted to be like this or to live like this. And it was relating to him being on drugs and everything else. And, thinking negative or just gross stuff that's involved with life. And I'll end with this. So, not only was I recording to Courtney, but to Sarah Silverman, of course, which is who I got really angry at and threatened, and I ended up going to jail. Um, anyway, I had a dream with her as a voice, and I was watching my younger self hold Catwoman's hand and I think it was, yeah, Poison Ivy as Uma Thurman. And I was watching my younger self walk in front of me with them holding their hands like they were my mom's. That's where all that comes from and me joking about it. And this voice of Sarah Silverman in the dream said, they're beings of God. Wait, let me say it kind of like how it sounded. They're beings of God, creation. Yeah, that happened. And then I had a dream with Tracy Twyman, another investigator that was murdered, that was friends with Isaac. And this was when I was in jail, and we were driving really fast in a car on a road. But before that, or during that, she said, "Oh, I'll, te- I'll teach you about the underworld." That's what she said to me, literally. And I was told in jail by the person I was in the cell with that the underworld, sorry, is actually purgatory. That would be, yeah, that would be true. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I might do another video like this another time. Thank you.